What is play and why play is important in early childhood education and care? Today's long video on my channel Storykate is about play. So I'm going to cover this topic extensively. However, I definitely plan to create more videos to unpack this further. Fasten up your belts and get ready to learn about play in a fun, engaging way that also covers your Certificate 3 in Early Childhood Education and Care, a Diploma of Early Childhood Education and Care. And if you are studying towards Bachelor of Early Childhood Education and Care, we also will get some of the key points covered. So the concept of play is quite complex, and of course I cannot cover it in this video, but what you can hope for is that it's a very interesting topic to unpack and quite complex indeed. I would like to start with my favorite quote from Albert Einstein: play is the highest form of research. This is one of my views on play, so I believe that play is super important and it does provide children with a lot of opportunities to learn. You will end up with your own definition of play, and I hope it will be as cool as this one. Now, think about your childhood and your play memories. I bet you had a lot of play as a child, and even if you didn't, you would still remember some of those precious moments. Think about what did you play with? Who did you play with? Where did you play? What resources did you use? Write down five first words that's very important that come to your mind when you think about play. I'll let you think. Now, share in the comments under this video because this is super important for you as an educator, as a parent, as someone who works with children to have your own memories of play and go back in time and remember how wonderful it was to play so you can better support children. So here are my five words. Number one, free. Number two, spontaneous. Number three, with friends. Number four, outside. And number five, creative. So I would always make something with sticks, sticky tape. So whether it's inside or outside, I would definitely play with my friends. It would be a lot of outdoor yard games. It would involve a lot of activities such as riding a bike, climbing trees, chasing each other, throwing rocks. um, at the pool or whatever. And it would definitely involve a lot of sand, water, sensory activities as well. It would always be spontaneous because we would move from one play activity to another, and it would be free because we were not really with adults, we were by ourselves. So that was play for me. I'm looking forward to read your comments because I would be entitled, enlightened by your comments. So play is the right of the child. So as you can see from Article 31 in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, children have the right to relax, play, and join in a wide range of cultural, artistic, and other recreational activities. As other rights, such as the right to have a family, the right to have a roof over your head, a right to have access to food, children should have right to play. Very, very important point. What is play? So, because you started with first associations that are related to this concept, I would also like to add some pictures. Consider finding few pictures that would illustrate play for you. If you Google play, you will come up with a lot of images of what is play. For adults, play would be probably sports, could be involved in some karaoke activities, playing musical instruments. But for children, play is a lot of things. The most important thing is that it usually is quite fun and enjoyable. It involves some interesting resources, like you can see here. It involves other children, like even if it's just playing with a bunch of other boys, as you can see on one of these pictures here to the left. It involves some interesting materials that represent real life or real materials. It involves some magical things like the sand that this girl is throwing in her face, or the bubbles. It could involve something more quiet and calm, like Play Doh or cutting out from paper, drawing. It also involves a lot of active play, that's for sure. But as you can see, it just few images that I found that for me represent play as an early childhood educator. So, for early childhood educators who are working in Australia, we do have some guidance that clarifies what play is. And what you are looking at is national quality standards. So, here we go. This is a handout that you can find on a SICWA website, and you will find all the relative quality areas that reflect play. Play is embedded in the national quality framework and national quality standards. It also is embedded through and through our new EYLF or Early Years Learning Framework, which is curriculum framework for early childhood education. So the key areas that are responsible for play or where play is mentioned is educational program and play practice. That's quality area 1. Quality area 2, children health and well-being. Also quality area 3, physical environment. Quality area 5, relationships with children, talks more about how we interact with children through play. So you will obviously find a lot of guidance when it comes to how to plan for play. What is play-based learning in quality area 1? You will find a lot of information about appropriate resources under quality area 2 and safety of children. You will find a lot of information about physical environment, again, and safety, risk taking, how this environment should be stimulating and interesting, engaging as well. And you will find a lot about relationships with children in quality area 5. That's about how to promote play and provide guidance to children through relationships. There are other key concepts that you will learn in this video. Number 1 is play-based learning or learning through play. So play-based learning involves children in learning, builds new knowledge, and encourages higher order thinking. Now, who can guess which theories that Storykate talks a lot about talks about higher order thinking? I'm counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Did you guess? It's Vygotsky, right? Child-centric play-based pedagogy provides opportunities for children to learn as they discover through play, create through play, improvise in play scenarios, and imagine through play. So play is very, very important for children's learning according to EYLF, our framework. Play-based learning deeply involves children in learning because they're not passive, they're active learners. It builds new knowledge and encourages higher order thinking because it does build on the foundation they have, and we add experiences that support their current knowledge and take them a little bit further, again, in line with Vygotsky theory. Child-centric play-based pedagogy provides children opportunities to learn as they discover, create, improvise, and imagine. Again, very, very important thing. Why I'm repeating it? Because sometimes people who are not familiar with play-based approach think that it is about free range play when children run around and do nothing. This is not right and not a correct way to look at play. Play is a topic that is researched widely. You can look at Marilyn Fleur, who is an Australian professor, internationally renowned for her understanding of play through the lens of Vygotsky, and you can read about concept play that she developed and enhance your understanding what play is. We also look at play through the lens of nature pedagogies that I adore. So that's about outdoor play, how important it is for children, for anxiety, for teaching life skills, for their sensory development, and of course for their holistic development. More on that later on. So if you look at this diagram, so you can see the image from the Victorian Years Learning Framework, which is a Victorian version of EYLF, yes, a local framework, and it shows balance between guided play and learning adult-led play, or learning and child-directed play and learning. So a lot of people usually swing towards either adult directed play or learning. So, for example, adult tells children what they're going to do, and they run the group time and they run learning activities outdoor, or free play. So there are advocates for free play, and I attended a lot of conferences on free play, and I think it's a magnificent thing to happen. However, research shows that the best learning outcomes for children, especially disadvantaged children, are through the balanced approach. So, what does it mean? This means that you are providing a lot of opportunities for children to play freely, which is child directed play and learning, when they make choices what they're going to do today, what they're going to engage with, how they're going to engage with the sand or Play Doh. But you also guide their play and learning. For example, you might provide the resources, thinking about what to give children, how to introduce these resources to children, also what to say, when to say it, how to interfere on time, not when it's not appropriate, how to make play fair for all children, how to involve children who are not very active in play, how to sort conflicts, how to problem solve in play. So a lot of interesting things are happening in this space. So it's a really relatively new area of research, but it is based on traditional theories. So where are you here on the spectrum? Think about as an educator. Are you supporting child-directed play, or are you supporting more adult learning play? What kind of teacher or educator are you at the moment? Think. Are you supporting guided play, and do you know how to do it? So let's delve deeper into this. So, how to find this balance? Free play and play based learning are not the same. So, it's very important to understand that they do share common attributes or qualities. But contemporary thinking about play based learning breaks away from the idea that play is either totally child centered, that's a romanticized idea that play is whimsical and magical and natural and doesn't even have any drawbacks or unfair advantages or disadvantages. It is not correct. Of course, play could be space for bullying, play could be unfair, play could not be inclusive. Play also might be silencing some children, and it is definitely not perfect. National quality standards, they do reflect the approach to play-based learning as important because it does involve a teacher. And the teacher role is significant in supporting children's learning, as suggested by multiple studies. You can find them through Google Scholar if you are so keen, and it's important part of our job to be able to do the research. So, national quality standard encourages educators not just to stand back and watch children, but to facilitate and extend each child's learning and development. There are many approaches that fall on the spectrum that we talked about in the previous slide. For example, NG Play, one of the most modern approaches from China. It is fantastic. I would love to go there and learn. So this approach supports children involved in risky play that is quite creative. It's outdoors. It involves really interesting planks and blocks, and children build their own things. An educator stands back and watches, but they observe and document children's play so they can discuss it later and provide more materials and discuss what's happening with children later on. So reflection is an important part of this free play approach. So it is truly child-centered. Another example of child-centered approach would be Piaget. So Piaget also encouraged creating environment where children explore freely. You also can think of treasure baskets approach that is called heuristic play, where children also interact with materials, and it is child-centered. Yet the materials are picked by educators, so it's not truly free play. Although there are, as I said, approaches that do promote free play. Some other approaches that are more inclined towards guided play, guided by adults, are Montessori. Montessori creates environment while children have a choice, and you know that Montessori promoted that in choosing equipment and what they're going to play with. What I noticed when I was working in Montessori centers is that it's only a limited range of things that children can choose from. Also, they're not allowed to experiment and improvise. Remember, these are important qualities of play. They're not allowed to improvise with materials, and hence they are not really able to play truly. So it's not a free play, it is guided play. I would even say sometimes it is just learning. Yes, so because Montessori teachers should introduce 3-step lessons on how children interact with materials. There is certain level of freedom, of course, but it's not as free as Angie play. So, in most Australian centers and probably New Zealand centers as well, UK, Singapore, many other centers around the world, play-based programs are the most common types of programs. These kind of programs, they do involve intentional teaching, the practice that is thoughtful, intentional, purposeful, and requires educator to be responsive to children. So that means that you are standing there observing, but you're also intentional in setting up play spaces, in choosing resources, in saying things to children and giving time for play. So it's very interesting approach. As you can see, it is requiring presence of educators, and that's why it falls just in the middle of this one. So yeah, it is guided play and learning, but you definitely will plan for free play, for example, outdoors, when children truly have free choices and you are able and willing to offer them these choices. Let's talk a little bit more about intentional teaching. I put a link here. I'm not going to show the video, so this video wouldn't be flagged, but you can click on this link and watch this video about intentional teaching from Queensland Curriculum Authority. It's really wonderful. It does show how teachers use modeling and demonstrating, open questioning, speculating, explaining, engaging in shared thinking and problem solving to extend children's thinking and learning. As a teacher, you probably do it every day, but it's always good to understand how to do intentional teaching. There are books that are written on intentional teaching, for example, by Epstein, and I encourage you to look at these books. Also, there is one of my favorite books that I recommend to all early childhood educators. It's called Programming and Planning, and you can find it on Cengage Learning or any other bookshop, for example, Booktopia. There are many theories of play, and this video is not about theories, so I'm just putting these links to some other videos that I created, but you also can find loads of information on ZPD, Vygotsky theory, Part 10, social play and stages, which I'm going to talk about today, Piaget, cognitive theory, and schema. So these theories, they do explain what play is and how children learn through play, and they're not limited to these three, because we have lots of old theories, a lot of modern theories. So I only encourage you to look at these videos to get started learning about play. For example, let's look at one theory so you can get started with understanding play, observing it, and adding it to your observations. So, for example, unoccupied play, according to Mildred Part 10, children go through stages, and the first stage is unoccupied play. So, child is involved with parents. They do watch more than play. So, although they do play with occasional, I would say, resources, toys, a mom's phone, keys from the car, they do not play with other children, and that's the social aspect we are looking at, which has exceptions though. So if you have young children who are under 2, you probably notice how they play with your hair, how they play with other children, siblings, or just friends' children, and they definitely play in long day care. I notice that a lot. Yet that's not their main thing. They usually are solitary explorers who are walking around and they're doing this. Onlooker play is another wonderful one when they are watching all the children with intent. So they're quite intensive when they're watching children playing, but they're still not stepping in. Solitary play when they're truly involved in, let's say, playing with water or sand or any other toy, and they don't need anyone else. Parallel play when two toddlers are sitting in the same sandpit and they're playing with the sand, but they don't really interact with each other. Associative play, easy to explain when the same toddlers who are a little bit older now, they do play parallel to each other, but they do share buckets and shovels with each other. Cooperative play is the next and final stage according to Mildred Parton, and that's when children have shared scenarios and they work on, I would say, imaginary situation together. For example, they build a castle for dinosaurs, or they create a sandcastle, or they might build a fort, or whatever they are doing. Play monsters chases, they have this cooperative play scenario when they're all in the same imaginary space. How children learn differs, of course, not just based on these traditional theories and contemporary theories of play, but based on their learning styles. While the theory of learning styles have been criticized for not being precise, you still can see that some children are uh, preferring auditory information, some children prefer tactile, kinesthetic style, and some children are more visual. Most children have mixed learning style, and that's what you will see. But usually children at the age of 0 to 2 are definitely sensory learners, and they stay preferably sensory up till 5 years of age. So they are kinesthetic, but they definitely use visual channel to learn about the world. So some children, all years when you tell them stories, and I had those ones during my story times, these are auditory learners. They do prefer this kind of style. And of course, for them, anything with soundscapes, anything with audiobooks, stories that you tell, meditations, music. So all this is a really appropriate. For kinesthetic child, storytelling should involve some kind of things they can hold on to. So whether it's puppets or objects, like something they can participate through, yeah, or even act out, and that would engage kinesthetic or tactile learners. Lots of sensory play, of course. And visual children might enjoy looking at videos. They all do nowadays. They might look at pictures in your book, they might look at the trees outside. So it's visual channel, so a lot of things they do see through their eyes. Another theory that you can find applicable to play and your observations of play is Gardner. Howard Gardner is a wonderful theorist who wrote Frames of Mind, my favorite book on intelligences. So he challenged the concept of intelligence as multiple intelligence. And Howard Gardner also talked about how there are multiple intelligences, and he added to his first list, initial list, and expanded it to now 9, I think. So one of the multiple intelligences that you can consider is music. Yes, so some children learn through music a lot, and they are musical. So you will need to include musical instruments, music as part of your play environment. Other children prefer physical learning channel. Yes, so that's their intelligence. So they're good at uh, tactile experiences. They're good with their bodies. So you need to have physical play, etc., etc. So you can learn more about Howard Gardner in one of my videos or on my website, storykate.com.au. There are other different types of play that require different resources, environments, and facilitation. Child's play is influenced by many, many things, and personalities and temperament, of course. Some children like active play. For example, boys, quite often known to love rough and tumble, running around play. They do love exploratory play and definitely love physically active play. So if you have a bunch of boys in your center, just active kids, some girls are quite active, you might need to cater for this type of players. If you have more creative, imaginative play children, so they have vivid imagination, they're a little bit more quiet, introverted, then you will have to create more experiences like this. Exploratory play suits every child. So as manipulative play, where you play with blocks, yes, so remember to offer all children blocks, not just boys. Sensory play appeals to all children as well, apart from children with sensory processing disorders or some sensory issues and allergies. A dramatic play, wonderful type of play, might not be always accessible to all children, need a lot of facilitation, but it's a fantastic play to offer to children. And heuristic play suits all children under the age of 3. Watch one of my videos on heuristic play or treasure baskets. So when you are creating your play environment, whether it's your family daycare or in your preschool room or younger children classroom, you need to create a range of play experiences. And this list is not exhaustive, so you will have more types of play. Of course, culturally inclusive play as well. So I didn't include all these because it's so many. But starting somewhere would be great, and you definitely will see a lot of engagement if your room is interesting and reflects multiple intelligences and different learning styles or VAC. Let's look at how we apply theories to play. So I'm gonna look at only one example of Vygotsky, who is my favorite. I'm a fangirl of Vygotsky. So ZPD, or zone of proximal development. Here you can watch children and see what they can do by themselves. So it's easy for them, right? So for example, child plays with Play-Doh, they roll it easily, they punch it, they knead it. So zone of something they cannot do is too hard for them. For example, to make a snail. So something in between is to do the next step. When they made like they rolled it, let's say, piece of Play-Doh, now you can teach them how to start rolling it into a snail. Yes, so with your support. And this is how you can apply ZPD to any kind of play, whether it's rough and tumble sensory play. So you can provide children with skills or knowledge or concepts that they are not yet able to do by themselves. So this requires you to be there, obviously, and free play would not provide you or child with opportunities for that. So this is the down side of free play. And personally, I love both free play, guided play, but I think because I'm such a huge fan of Vygotsky, that proved to be important for child's learning and promotes better outcomes, I would definitely use this for observing play and use ZPD as my observational lens to see what child can do in play and what is their next step, what I can support them with to move to this zone of proximal development. Adventurous play is an amazing type of play that deserves separate slide. Risk is something that some people don't like, yes, so because they think that risk is dangerous for children, but it is possible to negotiate risks with children. It's important to teach children to see hazards, identify things as dangerous, that might potentially have sharp edges that can cause falls, can cause damage to other children as well. We definitely teach a lot of understanding or risk awareness children in Australia, because we have spiders, we have snakes, we have dangerous sunlight, and a lot of other things that children need to consider. When you see you have like uneven surface and children start playing roughly, they might push a younger child and they may fall on the boulders or rocks. So that's definitely a risk, and it's possible. So we do teach this intentionally, and that's why adventurous play shouldn't be banned, but it should be prevalent in early childhood centers so that children can learn with your guidance, looking at the previous slide, to go to the zone of proximal development. And that's when free play can be quite dangerous, because children wouldn't really know without dangerous consequences. Yeah, you know what I mean? So look at this picture. I want you to share your thoughts on this picture. That's from Angie Play Crouch. Remember, I was talking about how it is popular now, and it's quite modern, and it promotes free play plus very interesting reflection done by educators who stand back and observe. So, do you feel comfortable with these two children playing? What about the child on top? Do you think she's safe? What do you think about learning? Do they learn anything? And I want you to think for a few seconds and post in the comments below, what do you think they learn through this type of play? As a child, have you done this? Honestly, as a parent, would you allow your children to do that? Opportunities for learning and development. So, why do we need to observe children while they're playing? So, and why do they do this in NG play? It's free play. Why don't you just leave them and then let them enjoy play? And then parents will pick them up and you will send them home. The most important thing is because play is learning. We are talking about play-based learning and learning through play. Our role as teachers is to observe this learning and identify it. So we call it follow-up, what's next, possible lines of development, opportunities. This is what I call zone of proximal development outcomes, of course. So you need to set up goals for these children. Not always follow up on each and every play experience, but it's really important to consider concepts, skills, knowledge, interest, culture, and other types of learning that you can extend on. Think about dispositions for learning that are reflected in the EYLF. And if you do not know what dispositions are, I encourage you to watch one of my videos on that. Think about curiosity, interest, persistence. So these are dispositions. Creativity is also a disposition. So these dispositions develop through play. Also, you can think of a lot of skills that develop through play. And if you look at the previous slide, number one skill that I can see here is balancing. So this is dynamic balance that is hard to achieve if you don't have anything that is unstable or wobbly. You learn it through engagement with resources that are wobbly like this one. Of course, you can do it on a playground, but this one is something that children created themselves. This also teaches children to undertake risks safely. This teaches this child to understand her boundaries. Where do I stop? Is it too high for me? Can I do it? So it teaches this child to consider whether she is brave enough or not yet. Can she do it by herself? Does she need another child support or teacher's support? How to ask for help. As for the child in the pink dress, it teaches her to support the other child, to be empathetic, to be social, to interact, to communicate, and many, many more things. In terms of dispositions, this child or who is on top of this barrel is showing persistence, an ability to complete tasks. They are problem solving all the time. If this rolls forward, how do I stop it from rolling backwards? Think about it. Just one play experience and so many potentials for learning. Now, how to start designing play spaces to respond to such amazing thing as play? I encourage you to select props and materials to meet the range of developmental levels of children. For that, you need to know where children are at and provide resources that are interesting and appropriate for this age group. Favorite objects are real objects, such as natural materials, some things that you can find in opportunity shops, some objects that you can find in your kitchen, yes, and throughout the house. So it's really interesting what children are drawn to. I watch a lot of children and interact with them from 0 to 7 and even 11, and I always confirm that they do like real objects that are unusual. They do like natural objects. For example, snow. Recently, I played with my niece, and she loves snow as substance. She can stay outdoors for ages. Even if she's cold, she keeps playing with the snow because it's so open-ended. In Australia, children love to play with water. They love to play with sand, clay. They love to play with leaves, sticks, and many, many other wonderful things. In terms of human made resources, you can offer them fabrics, silks, different screens, loose parts, tinkle boxes. So a lot of things. Plants, of course, are amazing, but they should be non-toxic. You should provide them with opportunities for specific learning. For example, if you are targeting inclusive play or cultural inclusion, you need to pick up resources that reflect that. You must provide them with a lot of time to follow on their interests and involved in play. And of course, you have to reflect their culture, what they are playing at home, their interests, and include literacy numeracy. Of course, Storykate would like you to promote this, and I've created a lot of videos on how to do it through play. As you observe, you need to look at children, assess where they're at, what kind of play they're involved in, and provide opportunities to reflect together with the child and parents. That's why anecdotal records, jottings, and learning stories are the best for that. You also can create video recordings and photos that support your learning stories and your jottings. Please use EYLF to create interesting observations, because the language in the EYLF is amazing. And the new EYLF 2.0 promotes a new theories of play, which I covered before, and you can watch this video as well. This is a sample observation of how I observe play. So as you can see, children are involved in interesting type of play that is called restaurant. So I provided them with some space where they can start this play. So this is the space that you call learning or play learning space. I provided them with images that also promote discussions, communications, and literacy discussions as well, emergent literacy. I provide them with real tools, as you can see, tablecloths, table, and real outfit dress-ups, recipe books, and also plates. And I provided them with the companies and time to involve into this play. So they are making pizza and they're discussing pizza. So one of them is playing one role, the other one another role. So they are playing involved in dramatic play. And of course, they are learning about how to interact with each other, how to communicate, and they learn the concepts that are related to this experience going to the restaurant and serving people. So they also learn about community roles, so many more. But without these observations, it wouldn't be possible, right? So we need to document children's voice, which you can see here. This tells you a lot about children's experiences with pizza, their interests, and what they like. So capture children's play as much as you can. Capture children's voice and learn the language of EYLF, how you can add it to your observations. For example, increasing knowledge, understanding, shared discussions. Sufficient time for play is very, very critical. So I know you want to do a lot of wonderful group times or probably outdoor guided activities, excursions, which are always amazing. But remember to provide children with at least 3 hours of uninterrupted play throughout the day, but it should be probably more in long day care. Time is important, but space is also important. If children have a lot of time, you can see this space, the ocean or the sea shore, encourages them to be involved in play with their friend for hours and hours. They have everything they need here. Also, as you watch children, you need to monitor and see how children are still interested in play, whether they are challenged enough or they are bored. So what I noticed that children might be unfair to each other, they might exclude, and that was something that we covered at Monash University when I was doing my bachelor. We talked a lot about what is fair, what is unfair. This is a huge topic. You can read a lot about it from the work of McNaughton, Glenda McNaughton, and many other theorists, modern theorists and researchers. But I encourage you to really consider inclusive play play and look at Dr. Red Ruby, who talks about inclusion as well a lot, and fair play. Fair is Fair, one of my favorite books on this topic. But anti-bias approach would also be a great book to start. Finally, when you have all these observations, set up all your play spaces, and you are feeling confident with play, remember to reflect on what's happening and how you are teaching, right? So consider evaluating your play spaces occasionally, and evaluating your behavior as well. What did I do today and why? Who benefits from this? Who is disadvantaged when I set up this play space? Would I change anything next time? And I'll give you an example. When I was running a group time, one of my children, he didn't really like the loud noise that wooden sticks would make, my favorite rhyme sticks. So he was allowed to leave the story time because it was pretty much voluntary as story time, but I would encourage him to leave because he would do that. So this indicates distress, and he was allowed to do whatever he wants as long as I can see him and as long as he's not disruptive. So we had this agreement. And of course, sometimes you can change a lot of things about play. How many chairs did you put? Is this play accessible for children, all children with abilities? Yeah. Is it culturally accessible as well? And upon reflection, you improve, and you involve parents and children in this reflection, and how it evolves, and how you create better classrooms and better play. So look at this observation on snails that I made a few years ago. It was a spontaneous type of play, and children created beautiful environments for snails, which I followed with Play-Doh experience and loose parts. So they created homes for snails. They talked about snails, where they live, and this raised a lot of questions. Look at this observation. You can pause this video for a moment and think about, what learning do you see? Think about learning outcomes. Is it identity? Yeah. Is it well-being? Is it community? Is it learning, or is it communication? What do you see here? Yeah. So what kind of concepts as well? What are dispositions that children show you? Now let's practice brainstorming. Based on this observation, I want you to identify opportunities for further learning. So imagine that you watch children engaged in snail play, and they found some snails and they put them inside the tin bag, and they were running around talking about that this is a home for snails and also what they need to eat. Based on this interest in snails, you can create a mind map with possible, not all extensions, but possible extensions for play and learning. You can use butcher paper, or I use my mind map book like this. So where I create mind maps, I'll show you. So yeah, so these are mind maps I create. And you can create a mind map of your own. So this will help you to support this interest holistically, and also respond to 5 domains of development, such as physical, emotional, social, language, and cognitive or thinking. What learning spaces would you set up for these children? Think about and add it to your mind map. If you are keen, please share it in the comments below as a picture. You can do it on my Facebook page, on Instagram, or even send it to me directly. Finally, we have a lot of roles to play and play as educators. They are not limited to these roles, but in literature, these roles are usually covered. Co-player. As you can see on this picture, it is one of my favorite roles. I love playing with children. I love being silly. I love being a child as well. So I like having fun. And you should be enthusiastic. And this is one of the most important roles of adults, especially with young children. Older children can play with each other, but younger child really needs you. Stage manager, when you set up those play spaces, this is very important role. Mediator, who solves all these conflicts. They don't want to play with me. They don't want to be my friends. They say I cannot play. Interpreter, not interrupter, but interrupter also an interesting role. Interpreter is the role that is fantastic because you are interpreting what the children developing as a scenario. But as for interrupter, you can interrupt on fair play, and you obviously is a facilitator. Scriber, sometimes you have to write about this play, and that's what they do at Angie Play. Assessor and communicator. So many other roles. Resource provider, I would say a director, so who is running this play, especially if it's a more complex play, like let's say you're doing group time and you want to organize acting out. So it's more like learning rather than play, or we'll call it play-based learning. Also think about what roles are you familiar as an educator. And final homework task for you, if you made it to the end of this video, and as I say to children, hug yourself or pat yourself. You did a great job, great persistence. Using resources, if you have your own room and your room, plan some engaging experiences that are suitable for children that you have in your room. If you're a student, think about children you observe, or if you have your own children, you can plan some provocations for them. So, for example, include list of resources you will need. Think about your one goal for this play. Think about what you're going to add to this play space. And again, if you feel brave, share your videos or pictures on the Facebook page, Storykate. I would love to see your play spaces. This really helps me going as well. Now, after you set it up and created play spaces and you watched children engaged with this play space, think about how do you know if this learning experience was good? Think about whether it reflected your children's interests. What was challenging for children? Was it boring? Was it good enough? What would improve next time? And this is a final homework for you for this video. Thank you for watching. We will do more videos on play and play-based learning, intentional teaching, dispositions, etc. If you have any questions about play that are bugging you, please post in the comments below. I'm always happy to make more videos on topics that you are struggling with. Bye for now, and thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe if you like.